off that something magical, as we've seen before on European nights, might happen. Those hopes faded fast, and as the match went on, they just completely disappeared, did they?
Yeah, it only lasted 45 minutes. I thought they can't play any worse than they did 6 days ago. I don't think they've been much better tonight, Milan. There was a chance for them. I said at half-time they need something to get back in the game, a set piece, a handball in the box, or maybe a sending off. I think Acerbi should have been sent off. I think we see it in a minute. That could have been the catalyst for Milan. He wasn't sent off. And you've got to say 11 v 11, it's been a mismatch.
From an Inter point of view, though, Richie, a mismatch, only one goal in it tonight, but is that simply just because job done, had the 2 goals from last week and just get through safely to the next round?
Absolutely, they were deserved winners tonight. They were more than deserved winners over the 2 legs. And I don't think they really needed to be at their very best to get past this AC Milan team. This AC Milan team are an average team. Like we bigged up beforehand, this is an iconic fixture in an iconic venue, and there's loads of history with these 2 clubs in this competition. But the current version of AC Milan doesn't belong in the conversation of the previous great teams. They've dropped out of the top 4 in the Italian league at the moment, so they may not be in the Champions League next season. And they looked very short of ideas tonight. Even Leao, the player we spoke about beforehand, who is the most potent attacking threat up front, he had a quiet night as well, and it just looked like the rest of them were nowhere near coming up with something themselves.
And there you can see, so Inter Milan, the first team into the final. Will they be playing Real Madrid? Will they be playing Manchester City in Istanbul? We'll be looking ahead to tomorrow's game a little bit later on. At San Siro, we've 2 very different Milan teams, 2 very different sets of emotions, and possibly 2 very different futures after what the 2 of them produced over the course of the 2 legs of their Champions League semi-final. It's Inter, of course, who go on after a remarkably straightforward victory, 3-0 in the end on aggregate over the course of the 2 games. Richie was talking about before how Milan look so far away from the glory days. We talked about the glory days earlier. How about Inter Milan? Because they're the victors tonight. How close are they to perhaps getting back to the big times? Well,
they have 1 game away. They haven't been in that position for 13 years. They won it. They won the treble under Mourinho in 2010. They're tough not to crack. And I think they'll give either team, whoever goes through, they give them a game. Because what they do, what you have to appreciate, going into a second leg 2-0 up is not the easiest thing. It's a derby. It's technically a home game. And they don't give chances away easily. And they defend even because Milan never looked like scoring. And then it's even harder to keep concentration. But that's what they do. Regardless of what the score is, they always play the same way. And the 3 centre-backs, they love defending. They've got a very good keeper, as we mentioned before. And what they do, they distract you, they slow the game down. And if they were to play City, this is something City doesn't really get in the Premier League because the game is played differently. The game is played as it should be played. A flowing game, no diving, no slowing the game down, no running the clock down. But that's what they do, and that's what they will do. So they can easily frustrate you, and you won't get chances easily against them. So whoever they play, they will go in the game as underdogs. I'll give them a squeak.
Did you say they don't dive?
They don't.
Is that what you said? No diving from Inter?
No, they do. I said That's what City don't get in the Premier League. But they do. They do everything to distract the opponents. They didn't really need to do it tonight because Milan wasn't up to the standard Inter was. And on top of that, they're very good players. You know, they bring a Lukaku on, they bring a Brozovic on, a Gosens on. They've got 16, 17, 18 very good players. They get on a bit. They probably lack a bit of pace going forward. But, you know, when you play against a team that's destructive, it's not easy to find a rhythm. And I think that could be the case for both teams, whoever they face in the final.
You had a strange face on you there when Diddy was talking.
I don't know. I'm looking back over this season's Champions League, and I'm trying to recall performances by Inter Milan, which would make me think that the others tomorrow night semi-finalists should fear them. Like, you go back to the group stages, they finished 8 points behind Bayern Munich in the group stages. They were beaten twice, 2-0 home and away by Bayern.
Finished ahead of the Spanish champions.
They finished ahead of Barcelona.
And they might play the runners-up.
Okay, but since the group stages, which they finished 8 points off top, the draw has been kind. They beat Benfica and Porto, right?
Sorry, a Benfica team that was flying at the time.
Which were decent. But beating Portuguese teams has never been cited by anyone in this studio or any other studio as grounds to be optimistic to conquer Europe. They're just not a level. Tonight's AC Milan, tonight's opponent, what complimentary thing have we said about them? About last week or tonight? You said it there a moment ago, they didn't look like scoring. You praised Inter Milan just simply for concentrating in the face of such weak opposition. I want more. I want to be able to say more about Inter Milan, more complimentary things than that to lead me to think going into a final. Yes, they have a squeak. Yes, they have a chance. It's football. It's 90 minutes. Of course they can win, but they will be, particularly if they're playing City, like the by a distance second favourites in my view.
Benfica were the dark horses after the group stages. They topped the group with Paris Saint-Germain in it,
who are not a serious outfit in European football. They're the closest thing to a circus act at this level.
Yes, I agree with you.
But you're about to praise them.
They played 6 knockout games. They kept 5 clean sheets.
AC Milan.
No, Inter.
Milan.
Inter. Now, regardless how good the opposition is, you know, Porto and Benfica, they got out of the group on merit. They deserve to go through. As I said, Benfica topped the group. They won the last game 6 or 7-1 to top the group ahead of PSG. Now, to keep 5 clean sheets out of 6 games is an achievement in itself. And you don't do it with a bad defence. You don't do it with a bad keeper.
But you're helped in your job of doing it if the forwards 100%. Are the AC Milan team.
It'll be the biggest.
There's no comparison.
It'll be the biggest test.
That's my point.
In this year's Champions
by
League.
a distance, they've done well. They've overcome all the opposition, deservedly so.
Yeah, but it sounds like you're saying they fluked their way to a Champions League final.
I didn't say fluked. I said the draw has been kind, and they've yet to have a scalp in the knockout stages because of the draw. They haven't been given them, and the biggest opposition they faced in the group stages were Bayern, and they lost twice. The draw they got at Nou Camp was the thing that got them through. But the jump in quality from tonight's opposition and the last 2 rounds' opposition is going to be huge for them in the final.
They're on an unbelievable winning streak. I think tonight's game was not their 8th win in a row in all competitions for Inter Milan.
They are currently 17 points off the top of the table. So again, I can't see. When everyone saw the semi-final draw, we were looking at it going, tonight's semi-final is a competition to see who'll finish runners-up. And I haven't seen anything over the 2 legs to change my mind on that.
They couldn't have done more than they did. They couldn't have done more than they did over the 2 legs.
They didn't need to. Like we said at half-time, they didn't need to be at their best.
Yeah, but who's to say they can't up the game when they play against better opposition? That's my point. Because, yes, against Bayern Munich, they got beat twice. They qualified in a group. They left Barcelona behind them, who are Spanish champions now, who are 8 or 9 points ahead of Madrid, who they may face in the final. Benfica, free-scoring team. Yeah, Porto, you've got to beat. Benfica were the dark horses. And today they played against a team, they probably beat the most informed team in Napoli in the last round, even though they probably shouldn't have done. How they did beat them. How they did beat them, I do not know. On the last 2 performances, I do not know how they beat Napoli, but they did. And if they do play against better opposition, this is a vastly experienced team. And what I like about them is their game management. They know what to do at the right time. And this is something I don't think Madrid or City have been up against this season. I wouldn't rule them out at all. I do like them, and as I said, Liverpool was probably one of the best, if not the best sides last season, and they had a chance to knock them out at Anfield. They were 1-0 up, had a man sent off, which wasn't a sending off Alexis Sanchez, and I think they won 1-0, they finished 1 each, they got knocked out of competition in the last 16 or last 8. These guys are a tough nut to crack, and they've got players off the bench who can make a difference. Brozovic coming on, he's a top-class player. Might start in the final ahead of Mkhitaryan. It won't be straightforward, whoever goes through.
And, of course, they have a World Cup winner who was the man who got the winning goal tonight.
Yes, they did. And the goal was coming. If there was anyone going to be scored, we thought it would be Inter Milan, but it's really, really poor defending here by the AC Milan. We'll see a replay in a moment. It's a decent finish. The goalkeeper will probably be disappointed. But look at Kalulu here, nearest player to the ball, just switches off. either forgets that Martinez is there, can't recover, or maybe he's looking across thinking the others should be in line with him, they're keeping him on side. Again, that's really, really poor defending at this level, which is the kind of thing I'm pointing to when I say that they haven't been tested in a way.
But didn't he suggest the reason is because of the way Inter Milan played, that they caused these sorts of distractions? Is that not what you were suggesting?
That's poor defending. I don't think we can give Inter Milan credit for the fact that a player like Kalulu just completely switches off, loses his mind, I think, and just forgets to do the complete basics. A forward attacking line led by Giroud is not as potent as an attacking line led by Benzema and Vinicius Junior or Haaland and any other number of Man City players.
One of the other things I get the impression from listening to you talk about Inter Milan, one of the things you like about them is the fact that they have a bit of a nasty edge, don't they?
Yeah, I do. And what they do is grind teams down and bring them down to their level. What I don't like, I like him a bit nasty, but I don't like this because this is just plain stupid. We see here Acerbi pushing and shoving with Tonali for a few seconds, and then in the end he's had enough. He's looking down, he's stamping him. Now you can say, well, it's just a little one. You can't do it. It's like kicking him off the ball. The referee gave a free kick. Mannion tells him what happened. I'm not sure why the assistant referee didn't have a look at it. And this is a couple of minutes after Lautaro Martinez kicking out at Joe. I give him the benefit of the doubt here. He's jumping onto him. He's off balance. But again, you know, if he catches him, he could have been in bother as well here. And this is something you don't really see with them because they're so disciplined and they've got so much respect for their teammates. Nobody's taking a shortcut. Even when the game is won, everybody's doing the right thing at the right time. They still defend all 11 of them. Even Lukaku, when he came on, he looked interested, which is not always the case with him. And this is the only thing I was disappointed at what Acerbi does, because I think he probably should have been sent off. And if he had been sent off, it was 0-0 at the time. We don't know what happened. And he would have been a huge loss in the final because these three centre-backs, they're different class.
It was the gift that AC Milan, I think, were crying out for, because we couldn't come up at half-time with an idea or any kind of reason to expect them to create a goal from moments of class. It was a stupid foul or a sending off, we said at half-time. And I'm amazed that someone at this level with so many eyeballs and cameras on them would do that. Now, I know everyone in moments of pressure, you do stupid things, and it's a semi-final, it's a rivalry that's as fierce as there is, but that's stupid. I don't know how you can show footage like that and then praise them for being disciplined. Like, it was 2 moments of really poor discipline, and they nearly gifted AC Milan a route back into a match where they'd no reason to think they could get anything from. Do
you want to respond to that you can't praise their discipline and then...
No, they are very disciplined. This is why I was disappointed. I think it was unlike them. I think he'd be majorly disappointed with himself. I think the manager will tell him. And I wouldn't like to know if he had been sent off. I don't know how many tears he would have cried in the dressing room now for such a stupid thing, to miss the opportunity to play a Champions League final. Yes, they're up against it, they'll be underdogs, but you've got a chance to make history. And he nearly threw it away in a couple of seconds by stamping on Tonali. I think the video assistant referee jumps in too often. I think we should let the referee decide and let the game flow. But in this incident, I don't know, it wasn't incidental. Purposely looked down, he stamps on him. It's a sending off, full stop.
You said that at half-time there was very little reason to think that Milan might do something in the second half. Now, there was the one moment from Rafael Leao, and we had teed him up as being potentially the man who could make the difference tonight. How disappointed were you in the end?
He didn't deliver. He didn't live up to the billing. And again, he wasn't the only Milan player in attacking areas where you will walk off that pitch disappointed that they didn't make much of an impact. Here, you can see what he's trying. He tries a bit of skill to get past the defender, and it doesn't work. But too many times in the first half, we saw him receiving the ball and kind of very safely laying it off to someone there. You can see what he's trying to do. He's trying to head it down to a teammate and doesn't pull it off. Here, kind of gives the ball away, I think, in a moment. And it just didn't happen. And it's it's quite common actually to come back from a muscle injury and have it in the back of your head. We tried to speculate beforehand what his mindset would be. Do you in any way kind of play within yourself or contain yourself or slow yourself down even in 2% in your head? And the first half performance gave us the impression that he might be, and the second half performance didn't change it. He looked nowhere near 100%.
Do you think Inter have more of a chance then against Manchester City? And do you think it's likely to be Manchester City they're playing?
I think it's likely they'll be Manchester City. I wouldn't rule Madrid out at all because I think they were the better side in the first half. Probably a bit hard done by not to win the game. But I give them a chance against both of them. Maybe a better chance against Real Madrid because they've got some older players in the middle as well. I think it'll be hard for this midfield to contain that City midfield. I think that'll be the biggest task. But then again, even if they get through, they've got 3 defenders there who hoover up, who clean up. I think City are favourites, but as I said, the way Vinicius Junior played in the first leg, if he plays anywhere near the game he did in Madrid last week, I think they've got a chance.
How many times are we going to write Real Madrid off in Europe because of something that's happening perhaps domestically or elsewhere, and then they just keep coming up with these ridiculous performances?
Yeah, I think we've learned enough to not to link their domestic form to the European performances or to decide that they would be disappointed by not being champions and that they would carry that hangover into Europe. They just don't. They seem to have an extra or reserve an entirely different level of concentration and performance for the Champions League. Having said all that and having written them off wrongly in the past,
okay.
I'm going to do so again. I just think the form that Manchester City are in, the strength of their bench, the run of results they're on, they're playing at home. I just can't. It's going to sound stupid because we said it all last season. I just can't see Real Madrid coming through this test. I know they've done it time and time again. They don't have to dominate games. They're quite comfortable with Manchester City, in this case, having the ball. They won't care that they're creating chances or conceding chances. They seem to come up at the big moments at the right time, enough to win. But tomorrow, Man City are going through for me.
It's a massive night
huge.
again for
It's a huge
Pep
game.
Guardiola to try to add to what's already a massive trophy haul, did he?
Well, this is the one they want to win. They won the league numerous times. They won the FA Cup, won the League Cup. This is the one why he came to City, why they brought him to City, to win the Champions League. He's been to one final in 6 or 7 seasons. He decided not to play Rodri, which certainly didn't help their cause against Chelsea a couple of years back. They've got a chance now. They've got the golden boy up top who scored 40 goals in all competitions this season. Whether it's enough to go to the final and win it remains to be seen.
You're questioning some of his decisions previously in the Champions League. Do you not think he's the right man and the man capable of bringing City to the...
We'll find out. They didn't get knocked out by Liverpool and Chelsea, Manchester United, Paris, by all these big names. They lost to Lyon, I think, 1 year. They lost to Monaco 1 year. They lost the final against a team in Chelsea. I think they finished 20-odd points behind him in the league. They found a way to beat themselves in their competition. And they've got a chance now. They're 2 games away. But they've got a tough test tomorrow. And I think Richie will find out that on June the 10th, if they do go through, they've got another tough test. Tougher than many might think.
Pep Guardiola's record in the Champions League, he obviously, with Barcelona, it worked out. Come Bayern Munich, it didn't happen, and he's struggling again he's not struggling, he's in a semi-final, but you might expect his record to be better?
I think in previous seasons, there's 2 or 3 standout memories where he made team selections that just didn't seem to make sense from a distance. He unnecessarily changed it. The Rodri thing was one. I'm hoping tomorrow's team selection won't raise any eyebrows. We think he's trying to overcomplicate it or surprise the opposition. Didi has strong views against Guardiola. We've spoken off camera a lot all night, but I think it's not just his failing. You can't just assume that you're going to spend all this money and get a squad of players together and automatically win it. But I think this season
Well,
they are going to
they've
win it.
won everything else, have they not? So why shouldn't they? And we've only a small bit of time, so Rich has alluded to it.
Yeah,
What are your issues with Guardiola?
What are the issues? He hasn't done anything other managers haven't. Rijkaard went to Barcelona, won it in the first season. I think Luis Enrique won the Champions League in the first season. City won all domestic trophies, but they haven't won the Champions League. That's why he went there. In Munich, he got knocked out 3 times in the semi-final. And he's been to one final with these clubs in the last 10 years. And for me, that's simply not enough. If you look at the teams, Liverpool been to 2 or 3. I think Spurs been to 1, Atletico been to 2 or 3.
Spurs.
Yeah.
Don't elevate Spurs as
Yeah,
team
no,
that
but
have
Spurs went to a
outperformed
final.
Guardiola.
Yeah, but Spurs went to a final. Spurs been to a final as often as Guardiola's teams in the last 10 years. It's a fact, Richie.
But add up the. I'm not here to say Guardiola is all things to all teams. Like he's a superb coach and he's outstanding. And yes, you would suspect that someone with that budget and that squad should be in more finals.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's not a given that someone with that squad should win them all, but yes, get to more finals. But he's got how many trophies?
Yeah, but
it surprises me that someone who can win so many trophies so often, and you said every other manager would do the same. He's about to win his 5th Premiership in 6 years.
Yeah, which is a great
managers
achievement.
haven't been doing that.
Yeah, but the one final he's been to, he left out Rory, who played in 57 of 63.
I agree. I don't know why
he lost
that
the
was
final
done.
himself. Yet he's seen as the master of managers and the best manager who graced
Has he also
the
not
earth.
had an unprecedented squad with City? And I know
they
we're
bring
out of
Calvin
time,
Phillips in for 40 or 60 million, and he's hardly played a role.
How
So
about
you
we
can-
continue this one another night, and we'll get into it in proper detail at that stage, because we are out of time. I'm very sorry, but thank you very much to Didi and to Rich.